Now, according to witness testimony, deep in the mountains of Afghanistan lies a creature so hideous, even the United States military fear entering this region. According to eyewitness accounts, the beast stands at over 8 feet tall and is covered in fiery red hair. Rumors have been circulating for years now that the American military killed a creature which was 3 times the size of a normal man, a living giant. The giant was supposedly 15 feet tall and was killed by the American military in the Kandahar region of Afghanistan while troops were looking for a missing patrol unit in 2002. According to the official reports, a U.S. patrol unit had gone missing in a remote area of the Afghanistan mountains during a patrol hike. When the patrol group did not check in, a special operations group was sent in to locate the lost patrol. The representative of the story, Mr. K, says he was a contact operator from the Special Ops group. The story you are about to hear is in his words in his report. He says, "We were flown in and dropped at 4 clicks or kilometers from the checkpoint, where the patrol group was supposed to check in. This point is called the rally point. We began our search through the same area the patrol group had last radioed in from." Now, Mr. K says that before they left base camp, there were all kinds of questions. Questions of what happened, and were they ambushed? Which he said was odd, because at that point of an ambush you would have expected for them to call for support. Something. But there was no radio contact, nothing. No distress call ever came in from the missing patrol. He says they have completely fallen off grid to us. He says as they began their search, they were descending down a fairly steep mountainside and came to a nice open goat path, just wide enough for them to walk in 2x2s, so not very wide. He says as they came around a bend in the mountain, he saw what looked like the remnants of a bear cave up ahead. There were scattered bones all around the entrance, which he assumed to be from deer or other wildlife. And he said there was a very bad odor emanating from the cave. Now, as they got closer to the cave entrance, they started to notice what looked like radio communication equipment smashed into pieces all over the ground. He knew right then this was theirs. Instantly, the group went into high alert, believing possibly maybe this was an ambush. He says we were on high alert as we approached that cave entrance. I think we were all waiting for a 300-pound bear to charge from the cave. There was a steep cliff behind them, just opposite of the cave opening. Suddenly, out of nowhere, this huge man came charging and roaring like a wild animal out of the cave. He stood at least 12 to 15 feet tall. He said once it emerged from the cave, they could all see it was clearly a man. One of the unit members named Dan started running at the creature and just started shooting, which woke all of them into the reality of the situation. He said while Dan is moving toward the giant, we all started laying down a line of fire. Now, he said with all this happening, the giant still lunged forward with his huge arm and jousted a large sharpened spear straight through Dan. The sharpened object went straight through Dan instantly. The giant was extremely strong. Now, while he still got Dan stuck to the end of his spear, he's still continuing to come toward the group. Kay says he remembers nothing but screaming, saying, "Shoot him, shoot him, shoot him." The beast was taking multiple shots and still coming. Finally, with a piercing bullet to his eye, he just stopped dead in his tracks. The roaring stopped. He stopped. Kay says they continued to unload their weapons into the giant creature for the next 30 seconds. He says we unloaded about 150 rounds into the creature. and he says this all took place in less than a minute. But the giant was dead. Dan was also DOA at the scene. Dan had died instantly from the pike piercing directly through his heart. Kay says that inside the cave, they found the remains of what was left of the lost patrol group. They were found all to be deceased. From the looks of it, the giant had apparently been eating them. He says they called in and requested a medevac team for Dan ASAP and reported what they had seen. He said as they tried to explain what had happened, they were simply cut off and told to remain in place and make sure the giant does not get up again. But soon they were visited by the sounds of helicopter blades above, which promptly dropped down large cargo netting, and they were radioed and told to get the giant secured for pickup. Then, one of their larger Chinook helicopters, used mainly for heavy loads, came over the top of the hills like it was already on its way. He said it was all very odd, to say the least. He says once they were done securing the load, the Chinook lowered down a heavy cable and secured the line, and within minutes the giant was lifted up and carried off. He says he did not see the giant again after that moment, but he will never forget what he saw that day. Now, in the official report, all of the surviving soldiers confirmed they had seen a giant with red hair, had 6 fingers on each hand, and 6 toes on each foot. After they had submitted their after-action report, the soldiers all claimed they had been told by the top brass to rewrite the reports in a particular fashion, mainly to remove any mention of a giant creature. Shortly after the event, the story had quickly spread around the base. The base commander, Commander Clements, he said he started hearing about the rumors of a special ops unit that was brought in to kill a giant in a cave. It was at that time that military personnel on the base, and even some locals in the area, began telling their own stories of encounters with the Kandahar giants. Clements said at first he didn't think much of the stories. That was until he spoke to a close personal friend on base who had admitted to Clements he had seen the beast firsthand when it was brought through the base at the time of the incident. He explained in detail to Clements what he had witnessed. He told Clements the giant was 3 times the size of a normal man and had extra digits on his hands and extra digits on his feet. In his words, he said it looked like a giant red-haired caveman. Now, this story sat for nearly a year with no mention publicly. Nobody mentioned a word about the attack by the Kandahar giant. At least not until George Norrie from Coast to Coast AM interviewed the helicopter pilot that transported the Kandahar giant during that incident. The pilot was quoted as saying, "I picked up a dead guy about 9 to 12 feet tall, laying in a fetal position on the pallet. He was roughly 1,100 pounds. The pilot then went on to collaborate that the giant was, in fact, fair-skinned, with lots of red hair, a red beard, and did have extra digits on his hands and feet, but could not say where he flew it to or where it is today." Now, the stories of the Kandahar giants in the Afghanistan mountains are not new to the Afghanistan people. They have been aware of these giants for thousands of years. They believe the creatures are from the biblical past and claim they are cannibals who will eat anyone that comes near their caves. Now, in the American Southwest, the Paiute tribe tells tales of war between their people and the Sikar, a race of cannibal, cave-dwelling, red-haired giants. In Norse mythology, the Jotun are a giant race of cave-dwelling spirits with superhuman strength. The giants of ancient Greece and Roman history are strong, oversized, monstrous men like the Cyclops, who are descendants from the gods of the Christian Bible, featured not only in the famous story of David versus the giant Goliath, but numerous tribes of giants, some strangely marked by 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. There's even the aptly titled book, The Book of Giants. There's even the fragmented, apocalyptic text found among the Dead Sea Scrolls that depicts the birth of giants, called the Nephilim, who walked the earth in the pre-flood world when the sons of gods impregnated the daughters of man. So, whether you want to believe in the Kandahar giant or not, the fact is, giants have been a huge part of our history since mankind's first days on planet Earth. And more proof of this is being found by archaeologists every day. In fact, around the turn of the 20th century, the New York Times London Globe and Scientific America had been publishing articles reporting the discovery of gigantic human skeletons that had been discovered in caves in the Grand Canyon. Oddly enough, the remains that were sent to the Smithsonian for further study was never seen again, which has led some to speculate that maybe the Smithsonian is either hiding or destroying these giant skeleton bones to cover up an inconvenient anomaly in the archaeological narrative. So now what do you think of this? Is there a possibility that giants still wander the earth today? Could this be what people see in the woods when they claim to see what they call Bigfoot? Please let us know what you think in the comments. Please make sure you like or dislike and comment on this video. We'd really love to know what you think of this story. Could these giants still exist today on Earth? Thank you very much for watching, and we will be back on the next one. God bless you all.
This has been the Confidential Report. For even more stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel today. And please show your support by clicking the like button on this video. For even more stories and news you deserve to know the truth about, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching the Confidential Report.